A very good afternoon to you from wherever you're watching us. Thank you for tuning in to the Extra Mile Media, your number one source of information.
This is the weekly news roundup, and stay tuned in with us to the end of our bulletin. I'm Wilfrida Zemel.
And I am Alfayo Soita. But as it is usual, let's first get the highlights.
Farmers in action as the country continues to receive heavy rains.
Universal health care will work.
A shake-up at the top following another cabinet reshuffle.
And placement of learners in grade 10 to be determined by the choice of pathways, says the Education Cabinet Secretary.
Hatutaki tena siasa ya uchuki na ukabila.
President William Ruto returned to the mountain after staying away from the region for 6 months.
And the private sector in the country records a significant positive deviation in a period of 10 months.
Welcome. As the planting season commences in various places across the country, farmers are in quick action to prepare their lands and assembling the necessary equipment required.
They hope for favorable weather conditions for effective planting and harvest.
And our reporter Sylvia Cherop has filed the full report.
With the arrival of the planting season, farmers across the nation are returning to their fields, ready to sow crops and sustain communities and drive local economies. This year, agricultural experts are closely watching weather patterns as unpredictable rains and temperature shifts pose challenges to early planting efforts. Many regions have already begun preparing their land, with some farmers taking advantage of early rains to begin planting maize, soya beans, and other staple foods. The government has announced plans to support farmers through subsidies on fertilizer and improved seed varieties, hoping to boost food security and reduce dependency on imports. Agricultural extension officers have also been deployed to rural areas to assist farmers with modern planting techniques and climate-resilient practices. However, challenges persist. Rising inputs, fluctuating fuel prices, and assessing the credit continue to weigh heavily on smallholder farmers. Many are urging for more long-term solutions, including investments in irrigation and storage infrastructure. Despite the hurdles, the mood among farmers remain cautiously optimistic as seed goes into the ground. Hopes are high that this year will be productive, not only to fill the granaries, but to strengthen the livelihoods of the agricultural sector. Sylvia Cherop, Weekly News Roundup.
It is a shake-up at the top as President William Ruto makes changes in his cabinet, signaling a renewed focus on performance and delivery.
And as Marcin Jerry reports, among the most talked about appointments is that of Aden Duale now taking over the health ministry, an appointment without controversy.
President William Ruto has made significant changes to his cabinet in a reshuffle aimed at enhancing efficiency in the government operation. Among the key changes, Aden Duale has been appointed as the new Cabinet Secretary of Health, replacing Dr. Deborah Baraza, who now takes over the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry. The handover ceremony took place on 1st of April at the Ministry of Health headquarters in Nairobi. When Duale officially assumed office, addressing the press, he pledged to focus on strengthening universal health coverage and ensuring timely hospital claim settlements under the Social Health Authority.
And I want to assure the people of Kenya, from the President, universal health care will work. It will work, inshallah, and it will work for the people of Kenya. And it will not work for the elite. It will work for the ordinary citizens.
However, Duale's appointment has sparked mixed reaction. The Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union has raised concern over his lack of medical background, arguing that health ministry requires leadership from a professional within the sector. In response, Duale dismissed the criticism, stating that effective governance is about leadership and policy implementation, not necessarily medical experts. Aside from health docket, other major changes in the reshuffle include Dr. Deborah Baraza reassignment from the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry. Simon Cheluguiz moved from the Ministry of Public Services, Performance and Delivery Management. Alice Wahome taking over the Ministry of Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development. Kipchumba Murkomen retaining his role in the Ministry of Roads and Transport, but with expert oversight of infrastructure projects. and Florence Bore shifting to the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection. These changes reflect President Ruto's strategy to realign the key ministries with the border development agenda. With the new faces in the key ministry, all eyes are now on how these leaders will translate policy into action. Masinjeri, Weekly News Roundup.
And that report from Mercy takes us to a short break, but we'll be right back with more.
Welcome back. The pioneers of CBC, that is grade 9 learners to grade 10, will experience a shift during their placement, said the Education Cabinet Secretary, Professor Julius Migos Ogamba.
And it is the choice of pathways, track and school categories that will be used as determinants during the placement.
And our very own Anne Omondi has the full report.
The Education CS Julius Migos Ogamba in a JSS class made it clear that there will be a significant shift during the placement of pioneers of CBC, that's grade 9 learners to grade 10, and how the senior schools, which are now secondary school, will be categorized come next year. He added that the placement of learners in grade 10 will depend on factors like learners' choice of pathways, tracks and schools, school category and capacity, merit and equity, with the selection and capacity being fully computerized. This means that school selection in terms of national, extra-county, county and sub-county will never be there. All this happens as maths subject was made optional to the learners as they transit to grade 10. On matters funding is that public secondary schools were to receive 28 billion, but up to now, the government has only released 14 billion, promising the remaining 14 billion next week. That time never waits. The learners will be back for their second term on the 28th of this month, yet there are pending funds for the term 1. The university new funding model brought into practice on May 2023 has also been facing a lot of challenges like inaccurate method of placing students to their respective bands, delay in the release of funds to the students and institution accounts. It's extremely perplexing as it is the end of semester and academic year, yet the government have not released expected amount to the university and students are not aware of the actual amount they are to pay. These delays of funds have also resulted to confusion in the university since most universities have a policy of 100% fee payment before end of semester exam, but this is now impossible. Moreover, TSC is also set to issue promotion letters to successful teachers who participated in the interview early this year. In January and February, TSC interviewed a total of 189,000 applicants from 25,288 secondary schools. This promotion aims to address staffing gaps, particularly in leadership, as over 3,300 schools have been operating without permanent heads. Steps towards searching for knowledge is more important than owning books loaded with content which are useless to you. Anne Omondi, Weekly News Roundup, Kibabi.
Thank you very much, Anne Omondi, for that report. And moving on to matters politics. After 6 months away from Mount Kenya region, President William Ruto had 5 days visit to the region.
And as Marion reports, during his tour to Mount Kenya region, President William Ruto launched several such projects as affordable houses and roads. He also cautioned Kenyans about ethnic politics that is being conducted by some politicians ahead of the 2027 polls.
It was a powerful comeback. 6 months after a stay away from Mount Kenya region, President William Ruto is back to the mountain. Starting from Nyeri, Kirinyaga, Meru, and the entire Mount Kenya region, the President launched many projects including the affordable housing project. The President has visited the mountain at a time when the mountain is really wounded with the removal of political kingpins from the government.
Mimi niliamua ya kwamba hatutaki tena siasa ya migawanyiko. Hatutaki tena siasa ya uchuki na ukabila.
Including Rigathi Gachagua and Justin Muturi. The President received a warm welcome from most of the leaders from the region, including the Nyeri Governor, Mutahi Kahiga, a close ally of the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua.
Asiwe akiambiwa ati asikuje Nyeri, sisi tunataka akuje tena na atuletee nini?
However, President William Ruto received critics from some parts of the mountain region, including Embu County, where he was heckled by the citizens. The question remains, will President William Ruto retain 3 million votes from Mountain Region? Mario Nafula, Weekly News Roundup.
Away from politics, it is now evidence that the private sector is the greatest booster to the Kenya economy.
Now this is coming after the rebounding of the sector, hence registering a significant growth within a period of 10 months.
Our reporter Alpha has more in details.
Kenya's private sector is rebounding, registering its strongest expansion in 10 months, fueled by growth in services and retail. However, the manufacturing sector remains under pressure due to softening demand. On the energy front, Kenya has renewed its oil agreement with Gulf state-owned firms for an additional 2 years. The revised deal includes extended credit terms, allowing petroleum imports to be paid for over 180 days. Finally, the High Court has ruled that Meta, Facebook's parent company, can be sued locally over claims it amplified content linked to ethnic violence during Ethiopia's civil conflict. Reporting for Kibu TV, CEO Easy Alpha.
Now thank you very much Alpha for that report. That now brings us to a short break, but stay tuned because we'll be right back with more direct to the fields.
The Extra Mile Media presents to you the third episode of The Big Table.
Wanasema kiza ni ulemavu, hata wenye macho huyaona kama mapambo.
Welcome back. Now the last Manchester derby for Kevin De Bruyne, a player of Manchester City, ends in a draw of goalless at Old Trafford.
Let's join Papa Eden for more details.
Thank you, my fellow Soita and well-breeder. Welcome to the sports and more so the most entertaining event, which is football results. To start with is our own Kibabi University League, which ended last weekend. Our Unity FC managed to be the winner, hitting the points of 106, followed by Ajax on position 2 with points of 85. The third position was Umoja FC with the 83 points. The last three teams are Titans with the 17 points, followed by Avian Forces, and the last one is Sparks FC. To move on the English Premier League last weekend results is that Everton posted a draw of 1-1 goal against Arsenal, where Fulham hammed Liverpool 3 goals against 2. To move on the English Premier League is that on Sunday we had Manchester United derby, where it was the last derby for a player of Manchester City, Kevin De Bruyne, playing against Manchester City. That derby ended in the draw of 0-0. Moving on English Premier League is that on Tuesday we had quarter-finals of UEFA Champions League, where Arsenal hammered Real Madrid 3-0 at 5 Emirates goal, and on other hands is that Inter Milan hammered Bayern Munich 2-1. This was the first round of quarter-finals, and the second round will go next week. I want to take all this opportunity to thank those who have been following me on sports news on our weekly roundups. Let's meet on next semester. Bye-bye. My name is Papa Ida.
Thank you very much, Papa Ida, for that amazing report from the fields. That now brings us to the end of our today's bulletin in the weekly news roundup.
Thank you for staying tuned in with us. Remember, you can always reach us on our social media handles at the Extra Mile Media on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. My name is Wilfrida Zemen.
And I am Alfayo Soita. And remember, this is also our last bulletin for this semester, and we thank you for being with us, working with us throughout the semester to this far. See you next time.
The Extra Mile Media presents to you the third episode of The Big Table.
Wanasema kiza ni ulemavu, hata wenye macho huyaona kama mapambo.